there is a teaching circulating in the spiritual marketplace that sounds like mysticism, but functions like a prison. It tells you that somewhere out there, separated from you by time or circumstance or karma, is your twin flame. The other half of your soul, the mirror you must find, the reunion you must achieve. And until that meeting occurs, you are incomplete. Neville Goddard said the exact opposite. In a 1970 lecture, he stood before an audience and declared something so radical it still hasn't been fully absorbed. There is only one self. Not two halves seeking each other. Not a cosmic beloved waiting in the wings. One self playing all the parts. And the person you believe is your twin flame. They are you, pushed out. An aspect of your own consciousness, wearing a face. If that sounds lonely, you've misunderstood it. If it sounds liberating, you're beginning to see what Neville saw. This is the truth about twin flames that no one wants to tell you, because it collapses the entire narrative. And in its place, it offers something far more powerful, the recognition that you are not seeking love. You are love, imagining itself into relationship. Let's begin. Welcome to Neville Goddard Universe, where we explore Neville's teachings, not as isolated principles, but as part of a living stream of mystical and esoteric wisdom that flows through every great tradition. I'm here because I believe Neville saw something true, and I believe that truth echoes across centuries, across continents, across systems of thought that never met, but arrived at the same place. Today, we're going into one of the most emotionally charged concepts in modern spirituality, the twin flame. It's a story that grips people. It inspires longing, obsession, hope, and heartbreak in equal measure. And it is, from Neville's perspective, a fundamental misunderstanding of who you are. What Neville actually taught about relationship, about the other, about the beloved, was not romantic. It was metaphysical. And when you understand it, the twin flame narrative doesn't just lose its power. It reveals itself as the very mechanism that's been blocking what you say you want. We're going to look at what Neville said in his own words. We're going to trace the lineage of this teaching through non-duality, through the mystical traditions of the East, through the esoteric psychology of the West. And then we're going to give you a practice, not to manifest your twin flame, but to dissolve the separation that created the need for one in the first place. And if this exploration resonates with you, if it opens something or clarifies something you've been circling for a long time, a like or a subscribe keeps this work alive and visible. I'm grateful for every mind that chooses to walk this path with us. Let's go deeper. Neville Goddard's central teaching can be summarized in 5 words. Consciousness is the only reality. Everything you perceive, every person, every circumstance, every encounter, is not separate from you. It is you, objectified. The world is not happening to you. The world is you, pushed out. And this includes the person you're convinced is your twin flame. In his 1968 lecture, All Things Are Possible, Neville said this: "There is nothing outside of your own wonderful human imagination. If you're wondering why a certain person is behaving in a certain way toward you, look within, for that person is only yourself made visible." Read that again. That person is only yourself made visible, not a separate soul, not a cosmic counterpart, not the other half of an ancient union. Yourself, wearing a different face, responding to the assumptions you hold about them, about yourself, about love, about worthiness. Neville went even further in a 1970 lecture. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here because the transcript is rough, that when you see another, you are seeing an aspect of your own being reflected back. The qualities you attribute to them, their kindness, their cruelty, their presence, their absence, are states you are occupying. They have no independent power. They are not doing anything to you. They are simply playing the part your imagination has cast them in. This is not solipsism. Neville is not saying other people don't exist. He's saying they exist within consciousness, not outside of it. And because you are consciousness, Because I am is the only reality. What you experience in another is always a reflection of the state you are identified with. Let's make this concrete. Imagine a woman. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah is convinced she's met her twin flame. He appeared in her life suddenly. The connection was instant, electric, undeniable. They spoke the same language. They had the same wounds. She felt seen in a way she'd never been seen before. And then, just as suddenly, he withdrew. He became distant. He said he wasn't ready. He vanished and reappeared, in a cycle that felt both agonizing and cosmically orchestrated. Sarah turns to the twin flame narrative. It tells her this is normal. This is the runner-chaser dynamic. This is part of the journey. She is the chaser. He is the runner. They are two halves of one soul, and the universe is testing them, preparing them, bringing them into alignment so they can reunite in divine timing. The narrative gives her hope, but it also gives her helplessness. Because if he is the runner, if this is his journey, if the universe is in control, then she can do nothing but wait. She can heal herself, yes. She can raise her vibration. She can release attachment. But she cannot change him. She cannot shift the dynamic. She is half of a whole, and the other half is out there, separate, sovereign, doing his own work on his own timeline. Neville would tell Sarah something that might initially sound cold, but is actually the most empowering thing she could hear. There is no him. There is only you. The man she calls her twin flame is not a separate being with his own journey. He is her assumption, made flesh. He is acting out the story she is telling about love, about men, about herself. He is distant because she assumes he is distant. He runs because she assumes he will run. And beneath that assumption is another, deeper one. I am not enough. Love is conditional. I must earn it. I am only half. The twin flame narrative didn't create that assumption, but it reinforced it. It gave it a spiritual framework. It turned separation into a sacred story. Neville's teaching does the opposite. It says, you are whole, you are the operant power. And the person you see is a mirror, not a missing piece. When Sarah hears this, really hears it, everything shifts. Because now the question is not, how do I get him back? The question is, what am I assuming about myself, about love, about this person? And what would I have to assume to experience what I want? This is the assumption technique. And it is the death of the twin flame story as it's commonly told. Because if the world is yourself pushed out, you are not waiting for reunion. You are imagining it. You are not half a soul. You are the whole of consciousness, imagining relationship. Neville put it plainly in feeling is the secrets. The world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself. The twin flame is not out there. The twin flame is in here. And the moment you stop seeking them and start assuming the wholeness you thought they would bring, they appear, not as savior, but as reflection. Now, this teaching, that the other is you, that separation is illusion, that consciousness is the only reality, is not unique to Neville. It is the bedrock of non-dual mysticism across every tradition that has gone deep enough to see it. In Advaita Vedanta, the central realization is Tat Tivam Asisi. Thou art that. The self you think you are, the individual, I, is not separate from the ultimate reality Brahman, and neither is anyone else. The multiplicity of selves is appearance. The truth is one self, looking out through infinite eyes. The Upanishads say it beautifully. As the same fire assumes different shapes when it consumes objects differing in shape, so does the one self take the shape of every creature in whom he is present. One self. Many forms. No separation. In Kashmir Shaivism, the teaching is even more explicit. The ultimate reality, Shiva, is pure consciousness, and all of manifestation. Every person, every object, every experience is Shiva's play, his Lila. You are Shiva, dreaming the world. The person you love is Shiva. The person you hate is Shiva. There is no other. The 9th century sage Abhinavagupta wrote, "The universe is nothing but the self seeing itself as if it were another." Does that sound familiar? It should, because Neville said the same thing in nearly the same words. The world is yourself pushed out. This is not metaphor. This is ontology. This is the structure of reality as the mystics have seen it again and again across centuries and cultures. Even in the Western esoteric tradition, the same truth appears. The Hermetic principle of mentalism from the Kabbalion states, "The all is mind, the universe is mental. All that exists is within the mind of the all, and you, as consciousness, are not separate from that mind. You are it, localized, dreaming a particular dream." When the Kabbalion says, "As above, so below, as within, so without," it is describing the same mechanism Neville taught. What is within you, your assumptions, your inner conversations, your imaginal acts, is reflected without. The outer world is not separate from the inner. It is the inner, objectified. Now, here's where the twin flame narrative diverges from this truth, and why it causes so much suffering. The twin flame story, as it's commonly taught, is built on the premise of separation. It tells you that you are one half of a soul that was split at the beginning of time. It tells you that you are incomplete without the other. It tells you that reunion is the goal, and until that reunion happens, you are in a state of lack. This is not mysticism. This is duality dressed in spiritual language. The mystics, from Rumi to Ramana Maharshi to Neville himself, teach the opposite. They teach that the beloved you seek is not separate from you. Rumi, in his ecstatic poetry, seems to speak of union with another, but the Sufis know what he really meant. The beloved is God, is the self, is consciousness itself. When Rumi says, "Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along," he is not describing two separate beings. He is describing the recognition that there was never separation. Neville understood this deeply. In his 1969 lecture, The Pearl of Great Price, he said that the entire drama of life, the search, the longing, the meeting, the loss, is God experiencing himself. You are not seeking God. You are God, pretending to seek so that you can experience the joy of finding. And the same is true of the twin flame. You are not seeking them. You are consciousness, imagining the experience of seeking so that you can know yourself as love. But here's the trap. As long as you believe the other is separate, as long as you believe they have independent will and independent journey, you cannot use the law. You cannot assume the state of union because you are assuming the state of separation. This is the common misconception that blocks manifestation. The twin flame narrative tells you that the other is on their own path, and you must respect their free will, and you cannot change them. And all of that is metaphysically backwards. Neville said it clearly. Free will is yours in the world of imagination. In the world of experience, you reap what you have sown. You do not change another person because there is no other person. There is only your assumption about them. And when you change the assumption, the reflection changes. The twin flame story asks you to wait. Neville's teaching asks you to imagine. The twin flame story tells you that you are half. Neville tells you that you are whole, and the world is you. The twin flame story says reunion is the goal. Neville says union is the truth, and separation is the illusion you've been assuming. This is what the thumbnail means when it says, "There is only you." Not loneliness, not solipsism, but the end of separation, the end of seeking. The recognition that the one you love is not out there, waiting. They are in here, being imagined into form by the state you occupy. And the moment you shift that state, the reflection shifts. Let's take this out of the realm of theory and into practice. Because understanding the teaching intellectually is not the same as living it. And if you've been caught in the twin flame narrative, if you've been cycling through hope and heartbreak, waiting for the runner to return, analyzing signs and synchronicities, then what you need is not more explanation. What you need is a method. Neville gave us that method. It's called the assumption technique. And when applied to the twin flame pattern, it doesn't just shift the relationship. It dissolves the pattern entirely. Here's how you do it. First, stop seeking reunion. Stop asking, when will they come back? Stop checking their social media. Stop asking tarot readers if he's your twin flame. Because every time you do that, you are assuming separation. You are assuming they are out there, separate from you, with their own will and their own timeline. And as long as that assumption is active, that is what you will experience. Instead, ask this: what would I be feeling if I were experiencing the love I desire right now? Not when they come back, not when they wake up, not when the universe aligns. Right now. This is the feeling Neville always pointed to. In Feeling is the Secret, he wrote. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and observe the route that your attention follows. So close your eyes. Sit quietly, and imagine, as vividly as you can, that the love you've been seeking is already yours. Quote, not in the future, now. What does it feel like? Not the person, not their face or their words. The feeling. The feeling of being loved. The feeling of being chosen. The feeling of being safe, cherished, seen, held. The feeling of wholeness. Stay there. Don't rush it. Let the feeling build. Let it become more real than the empty bed, more real than the silence, more real than the story of separation. This is the state. This is the assumption. And from this state you begin to live. Neville called this living in the end. You do not wait for circumstances to change before you feel the feeling. You feel the feeling, and circumstances must conform. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because the twin flame narrative would tell you that once you feel this way, once you've healed and raised your vibration, then the other person will sense it and return. And sometimes that appears to be what happens. But Neville would tell you something more precise. The person is not sensing anything. There is no separate person to sense. What's happening is that you have changed your assumption, and the world, which is you, pushed out, is reflecting that new assumption back to you. The man Sarah was chasing? He doesn't change because he senses her shift. He changes because he is her assumption. When she stops assuming he runs from me, and starts assuming I am loved, I am whole, I am in union, the figure that was running has no script anymore. The role changes because the author changed the script. Let's go deeper. This is where Neville's method of revision becomes extraordinarily powerful. If you have memories of rejection, of distance, of the person pulling away, those memories are active assumptions. They are stories you're still telling, and as long as you tell them, you recreate them. Neville taught revision as a way to rewrite the past in imagination. Not to deny what happened, but to change its meaning, its emotional charge, its creative power. So take a memory of separation. The moment they said they needed space. The moment they didn't reply. The moment they chose someone else. And revise it. In your imagination, see it differently. See them reaching for you. See them saying, I choose you. See yourself feeling safe, loved, certain. Don't force it. Just gently replay the scene the way you wish it had been. Do this before sleep, in the state Neville called SATS, the state akin to sleep, when the conscious mind is quiet and the subconscious is open. This is not fantasy. This is reprogramming. You are withdrawing power from the old assumption and feeding the new one. And here's what happens. As you revise the past in imagination, the present begins to shift. Not because you changed what happened, but because you changed what it means. And meaning is assumption, and assumption is cause. The final piece of this practice is the inner conversation. Neville said that most of us are in constant inner dialogue with others. imagining what they're thinking, what they'll say, what they'll do. And those inner conversations are creative. They are imaginal acts. They harden into facts. So become aware of the conversations you're having with your so-called twin flame in your mind. Are you imagining them saying, "I'm not ready"? Are you imagining them defending their distance, justifying their silence? Stop. Those are assumptions, and they will objectify. Instead, imagine the conversation you want. Imagine them saying, "I love you." Imagine them saying, "I've always chosen you." Imagine them expressing the love, the commitment, the presence you desire. Not as wishful thinking, but as an imaginal fact. Do this persistently, not obsessively, persistently. There's a difference. Obsession comes from lack. Persistence comes from faith. And faith, in Neville's terms, is simply loyalty to the unseen reality. It's assuming the wish fulfilled even when the senses deny it. This is how you apply. Everyone is you pushed out to the twin flame pattern. You stop waiting for them to change. You stop waiting for the universe to bring you together. You assume the state of union, and you live from it. And the world, which has no choice but to reflect your assumptions, rearranges itself to match, not because you controlled someone, but because there was never anyone to control. There was only you imagining. Let's step back now and ask the larger question. Why does this teaching appear in so many traditions? Why do the Upanishads and Neville, separated by millennia, say nearly the same thing? Why does Rumi, writing in 13th century Persia, echo the same truth that Neville taught in 20th century Los Angeles? Because they were all looking at the same thing, not at doctrine, not at culture, not at belief. They were looking at consciousness itself. And consciousness, wherever it is examined deeply enough, reveals the same structure. There is one reality. That reality is consciousness. And all multiplicity, all otherness, all separation, is appearance within that one consciousness. This is not philosophy. This is direct seeing. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The twin flame narrative, in its popular form, is a failure to see this. It mistakes the appearance for the reality. It takes the reflection, the beloved in form, and treats it as separate, independent, outside of you. And in doing so, it binds you to longing, to waiting, to the belief that wholeness is something you must find rather than something you already are. But the mystics knew better, and Neville knew better. The beloved is not separate. The beloved is you, imagining love into form. The twin flame is not half of you. The twin flame is the whole of you, reflected. And this is why the twin flame story, when properly understood, is not about finding another person. It's about remembering who you are. You are not the seeker. You are the sought. You are not the lover. You are love itself, pretending to seek so that you can experience the joy of union. This is the teaching beneath the teaching. This is what Neville saw. This is what the mystics have always seen. And when you see it too, the search ends. Not because you found the person, but because you found yourself. And from that place, from the recognition of your own wholeness, the person you've been imagining as separate appears. Not as completion, but as reflection. Not as savior, but as companion. Not as the one who makes you whole, but as the one who mirrors the wholeness you already are. This is the truth the twin flame narrative was always trying to point to. But somewhere along the way, the pointer was mistaken for the point. The map was mistaken for the territory. Neville gave us the territory. He said, "You are all imagination." And imagination is God. You are not seeking God. You are God, imagining. And the one you love is you, loving yourself into form. This is not loneliness. This is the end of loneliness. Because if there is only one self, then you are never alone. You are always in union. You are always whole. You are always love, imagining itself into infinite relationship. And that, finally, is the truth about twin flames. Not what you were told, but what Neville actually said. So let's return to where we began. There is only you. Not as a cold metaphysical fact, but as the most intimate truth you could ever know. The person you've been longing for, waiting for, hoping will return. They are not separate. They are you, wearing a face, playing a part, reflecting the state you occupy. And the moment you shift that state, the reflection shifts. Not because you've controlled them, but because there was never a them to control. There was only consciousness, imagining. This is the teaching that ends the twin flame obsession. Not by denying love, but by revealing what love actually is. Not a search, not a reunion, but a recognition. The recognition that you are already whole, that you are already love. That the beloved is not out there, but in here, waiting to be imagined into form. If what we've explored together today has touched something, if it's clarified something you've been circling or dissolved something that's been holding you, I'd be grateful if you'd leave a like or subscribe. It keeps this work visible and allows me to continue these explorations. Every person who joins this journey matters. Tonight, before you sleep, imagine the love you desire as if it's already yours, not as a future event, as a present fact. Feel it. Let it saturate you. Let it become more real than the empty space beside you. And as you fall asleep in that feeling, know that you're not wishing. You're not hoping. You're assuming. And assumption, Neville promised, hardens into fact. The twin flame was never the goal. The twin flame was always the mirror. And the moment you see your own face in that mirror, the search ends. Not in loss, but in recognition. Not in separation, but in the truth that there is only one self, imagining all of this into being. You are that self. You have always been that self. And the love you seek has always been here, waiting for you to claim it. Go and imagine boldly. The world is yours, because the world is you.